You feel stuck because you're waiting for motivation, for clarity, for the perfect time. But none of that is coming. The only way out is to push yourself. That's how it happens. Not by luck, not by waiting, by deciding that comfort is no longer an option. The moment you demand more from yourself, everything changes. This is how the relentless rise, by doing what others won't until they can't be ignored. In a few moments, I will teach you how pushing yourself daily, ruthlessly, becomes the reason everything in your life finally happens. You are stronger than you think. You've been told to wait, to hold back, to play it safe. But inside you, something is burning, something greater than you ever dared to admit. That feeling you keep trying to silence, that's your true power calling. It doesn't whisper, it roars. And until you answer it, you'll always feel restless. You were not made to drift through life, controlled by circumstance. You were made to conquer it. The doubt you feel, the hesitation in your step, that's not weakness. It's a signal. It's telling you you've stayed in place too long. You've listened too much to those who never dared to do more themselves. So, how do you start breaking through that invisible wall? You begin by telling yourself out loud that you are capable, not later, now. You push yourself not because it's easy, but because you must. Discipline is born the moment you take a step without motivation. That's when real strength begins. Imagine waking before the sun while the world still sleeps. You build your mind, your body, your vision before the world even opens its eyes. You don't wait for someone to push you, you push yourself. Every day, without applause, without approval. Can you see yourself doing that? Ask yourself, are you using your strength or only imagining it? Are you moving or waiting for permission? You must act, because life will not stop for you. The opportunity you seek won't knock politely. You must drag it into existence with your bare hands. The pain of regret is greater than the pain of discipline. There will come a day, maybe years from now, when you sit alone, eyes fixed on a wall that never answers back, and in that silence, you will either feel peace or regret. That is the price. Every choice you make today, every excuse, every delay, it adds weight to that moment. Most men would rather suffer comfort than confront growth. But comfort never builds a legacy. Comfort never built a great mind or forged a great destiny. The pain of discipline is sharp, yes, but it fades. The pain of regret, it lingers, it gnaws. So what do you do with this knowledge? You choose the harder path, not because it's painful, but because it frees you. You wake early. You say no to distraction. You train your will like a soldier trains his body. Every refusal, every repetition, every silent hour, these are bricks in the house of your future. Imagine looking back years from now, knowing you faced every fear, fought every excuse, and rose anyway. What if you lived a life where there was no what if? What if the man in the mirror was proud of you? Why live in delay when discipline can set you free? Why run from sweat when regret will haunt you longer? Which pain are you choosing each day, consciously or not? No one is coming to save you. You were not born to rescue, you were born to rise. Every time you wait for someone to give you a break, a sign, a miracle, you surrender your power. No one is coming. Not the perfect teacher, not the perfect moment, not the perfect feeling. It's just you and your decision. The world doesn't owe you understanding. It rewards the man who acts, who builds with bleeding hands and unwavering conviction, the man who takes the bricks thrown at him and constructs his foundation. But how do you move when the weight feels unbearable? You stop asking for relief and start creating results. You take one step, then another, and another. You keep your head down and your standards high. You rise before others. You do the hard thing when no one's watching. Picture yourself in a dark room, no help, no noise, just silence. Most freeze, but not you. You strike a match. You light your own way. That's what separates you. That's what makes you unstoppable. Are you still waiting for someone to pick you, or have you decided to pick yourself? Every day you wait is the day you stay stuck. Every day you act is the day you get stronger. Remember, your future isn't found, it's made. And no one else is going to make it for you. Discipline is the highest form of self-respect. If you respected yourself more, you'd waste less time. That's the truth most refuse to face. You say you want more, you dream of excellence, but your habits speak louder than your hopes. Discipline isn't punishment, it's honor. It's how a man proves to himself that he is worthy of the life he desires. You don't earn greatness through emotion. You earn it through repetition. Cold, deliberate, daily action. Discipline is how you remind yourself that your goals are real, that your future matters more than your feelings. How do you cultivate this fire? You make promises to yourself, and you keep them. You get up when the world sleeps. You work when your mind whispers excuses. You demand more, even when comfort is an option. That is self-respect in motion. Imagine a man who speaks few words, but every action screams consistency. He isn't loud, he's respected, not for what he says, but for what he proves daily. Could you become that man? Ask yourself, what does your day say about how much you respect your dream? What does your discipline say about the life you're building? You want to feel proud? Earn it. You want peace of mind? Build it with discipline. Nothing else will give it to you. Clarity creates power. Know what you want. A man without direction is a ship in fog, adrift, spinning, colliding with anything that moves. He may be strong, he may row with all his might, but no amount of effort matters when the course is unknown. Without clarity, he burns energy, not progress. He mistakes motion for meaning, and one day he wakes up tired, not because he worked too hard, but because he moved too aimlessly. His days blur together, his ambitions dissolve into routines. He becomes a man who survives, but never arrives. Clarity is not a luxury, it is the necessity. It is the compass that turns ordinary movement into meaningful motion. Most people go their whole lives without ever deciding what they truly want. They follow inherited dreams. They copy the desires of their peers. They run toward things because others seem to be running too. But they never ask, where am I actually going? And in doing so, they forfeit the right to shape their destiny. They don't live, they drift. But there comes a moment, quiet and powerful, when a man grows tired of drifting, when he senses the emptiness of borrowed goals, when the applause of others no longer drowns out the silence in his soul. And in that moment, if he dares, he gets still. He doesn't scroll, he doesn't escape, he listens, he writes, he confronts the fog, and asks himself the most dangerous question of all. If nothing stood in my way, what would I create? What would I become? It is not an easy question. It strips away excuses, it shatters illusions, because once you name your true desire, you can no longer pretend to be lost. You can no longer blame others or wait for a sign. You must either move toward it or admit you've chosen comfort over clarity. But once you declare it, the world shifts. Your focus sharpens, your energy aligns, your actions acquire direction. Suddenly, each day becomes a brick, not scattered sand. You build, you ascend, you become the man who climbs, not the man who circles. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a mountain. The sky is wide, the path is unclear, but your destination calls. Without vision, you wander. With vision, you conquer. The man with clarity doesn't avoid struggle, he welcomes it, because he knows where he's going. He isn't shaken by failure. He isn't swayed by noise. He walks with force. He speaks with purpose. He lives with aim. So ask yourself, do you really know what you want, or have you just been reacting to life? Push yourself to decide. Push yourself to declare, because once your vision is clear, your life becomes momentum. Every choice gains precision, every step builds weight, and the man who once drifted becomes the man who arrives. Start before you're ready. You keep waiting for the right moment, for the perfect opening, for life to give you some divine sign that it's your time. You wait for the weather to calm, for the noise to stop, for confidence to strike like lightning from the sky. But let me speak to you plainly. That moment is not coming. If you keep waiting for everything to feel right, you'll still be standing in the same place 10 years from now, watching your life rust from the sideline. Readiness is a myth. It's the polished mask that fear wears to make hesitation feel smart. You think you need to be more prepared, more certain, more secure, but all that does is keep you stuck. You don't gain courage by pausing. You gain courage by stepping into the uncertainty and deciding to walk anyway. You don't become ready before the journey, you become ready in the journey, in the mess, in the mistakes, in the moments where your heart races and your knees shake and your mind screams, don't. That's where strength is forged. But how do you move when everything in you whispers, wait? You move anyway. You train yourself to act despite the discomfort. You take one step forward, not because it's perfect, but because it's possible. You write the sentence even if it's ugly. You start the workout even if it's short. You speak even if your voice trembles. You override the voice of fear with the decision to build, to become, to begin. Picture a man standing at the edge of a river. He watches the current, studies the depth, calculates the risk. He tells himself he'll cross when it's safer, when the water slows, when the sky clears, but the water never stills. The perfect moment never comes, and so he stands there, waiting, until one day he looks across and sees another man on the far side. That man is soaked, scraped, out of breath, but he made it. Not because he was braver, not because he was smarter, but because he started. Ask yourself, how many times have you let fear delay your life? How many dreams have you buried under the weight of not yet? You don't need more time. You need more courage. You need to stop worshiping comfort and start honoring progress. Because here is the truth. Action changes everything. Not thought, not preparation, not prayer without pursuit. Action. It's how you sharpen your mind. It's how you build confidence. It's how you rewrite the story of your life, step by trembling step. So, don't wait for certainty. Don't wait to feel ready. Push yourself forward because you feel afraid. Walk through that fear like it's a doorway, because it is. The man who wins is the one who acts. When it's hard, when it's risky, when it's messy, he falls, he bleeds, but he builds. And that's why he rises. You don't have time to waste. You think you have time, but you don't. That's the cruelest illusion, the softest lie you've been fed since childhood. There's always tomorrow. No, there isn't. Time is not patient. It does not pause to accommodate your hesitation. It does not slow when you feel lost. Each second that passes is a decision, a sentence written into your story, whether you chose it or not. The clock isn't a companion. It's a quiet executioner. It watches, it waits, and it takes. Every day you delay is a day that disappears, never to return. The man who succeeds, the man who shapes his life into something sharp and remarkable, is not always the most talented or the most lucky. He is simply the man who understands that time is life, nothing else. You can lose your job, your money, your home, and recover. But the hours you wasted, the mornings you slept through, the days you spent scrolling, doubting, overthinking, they are gone, irretrievable. That is the price of inaction, and it is steep. So what do you do with that truth? You stop pretending you have endless pages to fill. You stop living like you're rehearsing for the real show. This is the show. The curtain has already risen. The audience is time itself, and it demands a performance worthy of your breath. You must rise with urgency, not panic, but purpose. You must walk through your days as if they are sacred, because they are. You must treat your calendar like a battlefield, defending it from laziness, from comfort, from delay. Picture this: 2 men, same goal, same opportunity. One wakes before the sun, locks into his discipline, refuses to waste an hour. He is tired, yes, but focused. He begins, he builds, he endures. The other man nods thoughtfully, says he'll begin when it feels right, or next week, or after things settle down. He thinks he has time. 1 year later, the first man is transformed, sharper, stronger, respected. The second man is still imagining, still preparing, still waiting. You already know who wins. And here's the hard question: which one are you? Are you truly living in alignment with your vision, or are you sleepwalking through your hours, hoping that someday life will shake you awake? Time doesn't shout, it whispers. And before you know it, decades vanish while you are thinking about it. You must treat time like gold, because it is rarer, more precious, and more fleeting. Stop trading your hours for distractions, for comfort, for hollow escapes that give you nothing in return. You cannot afford another wasted sunrise. You cannot afford to postpone the man you were meant to become. Push yourself while you still can, while your legs still move, while your mind still burns, because the future is not promised to the man who waits. It belongs to the man who moves, who dares, who acts with urgency, not recklessness, but resolve. The one who wakes up each day and says, "This is the hour. This is the moment. This is the life I build." And if you live like that, fiercely, intentionally, you won't fear the ticking clock. You'll outrun it. Nothing changes until you do. You want your life to be different. You speak it. You dream it. You even complain about how things are now, about how they should be. But when the day begins, you go right back to the same habits, the same choices, the same thoughts that built the life you say you want to leave behind. You want change without sacrifice, growth without discomfort, results without revision. But that's not how reality works. The universe doesn't respond to wishes. It responds to identity. And identity is not what you say, it's what you do over and over again. You've been taught that change comes from outside, that it arrives like a package, unexpected, miraculous, transformative, maybe from a new job, a new relationship, a stroke of luck. But here's the truth most people avoid. Change doesn't happen to you, it happens within you. It's not an event, it's a shift. a restructuring of who you are from the ground up. Your life doesn't bend to your hopes, it mirrors your habits. It reflects the shape of your daily choices. If your identity stays the same, your outcomes will follow. So how do you actually change? Not in fantasy, but in form. You start where you are, with what you control, your thoughts, your routines, your standards. You observe the stories you've been telling yourself. I'm not ready, I'm not good enough, I'll always be like this. And you call them out for what they are, chains. You challenge them, replace them. You begin building a new mind, one small truth at a time. You start to act not as who you've been, but as who you intend to become. And over time, your life begins to shift. You no longer react, you rebuild. You begin to notice new options, take bolder actions, and demand more from yourself and your surroundings. And that's when people say you've changed. But you didn't change by accident. You became someone else on purpose. Picture this. A man plants the same seed every morning. Corn, corn, corn. Yet he prays for strawberries. That's what most people are doing. They repeat the same mental patterns, the same habits, the same complaints, and then they beg the world to deliver something new. But you don't get strawberries from corn. You reap what you consistently sow. If you want a new fruit, you need a new seed, a new mindset, a new decision. You must change what's beneath the surface if you want new growth above it. Ask yourself honestly, what behaviors are you clinging to that keep you small? What narratives are you replaying that guarantee the same results? You don't need more luck. You don't need the world to hand you a miracle. What you need is courage. Courage to disrupt your comfort. Courage to reject the familiar. Courage to look in the mirror and say, this version of me must die so something stronger can live. It won't be easy. Nothing worthwhile is. But when you change, really change, your life doesn't just shift at the edges. It transforms from the inside out. So stop trimming the branches. Go to the root. Push yourself. Refuse to repeat the past. Become the man who earns the life he wants. Because when you change everything. Success belongs to the consistent greatness, does not fall from the sky. It is not awarded to the man with the loudest voice, the best ideas, or even the sharpest mind. It belongs to the man who shows up every single day. The man who puts one foot in front of the other when it would be easier to stay still. The man who picks up the hammer not once, not twice, but again and again until the job is done. That's who wins. That's who becomes unstoppable. Because talent fades, motivation weakens, inspiration comes and goes, but consistency compounds. It's slow, it's quiet, it's often invisible, and that's why most people ignore it. But it's the most powerful force available to you. You want success, but have you earned it with your habits? You dream of achievement, of recognition, of transformation, but how often do you actually show up when it's hard? How often do you keep your promises when nobody's watching? That's the test. The man who is consistent doesn't need applause to keep going. He doesn't need to feel like it to do the work. He doesn't need external fuel because he's already lit the fire within. He shows up in the rain. He shows up in the dark. He shows up when every part of him says stop. And that's why he breaks through while others fade out. Consistency is not exciting. It's not glamorous. It's repetitive. And yes, it's boring, but it's the grind that builds empires. It's the slow pressure that turns coal into diamond. Day by day, brick by brick. A little progress repeated endlessly becomes something massive. That's the secret no one talks about. People are too obsessed with the breakthrough moment, the flashy success story, the overnight victory. But every overnight success was years in the making, years of doing the same work without reward, of repeating without recognition, of enduring without escape. So how do you become consistent? You stop negotiating with yourself. You remove maybe from your vocabulary. You set a standard and you honor it, no matter what mood you're in. Consistency doesn't care how you feel. It only asks one thing. Will you show up today? Will you sit down and write? Will you train even when your body aches? Will you push even when there's no fire left? If your answer is yes, and if that yes becomes your habit, then there's nothing you can't build. Imagine a man with an axe. He walks into the forest and swings once. Then he leaves. The tree stands tall. Another man swings the same axe. Not once, but daily. He doesn't talk about it. He doesn't post about it. He just shows up and swings, day after day. At first, nothing happens. Then a dent. Then a crack. And one morning, the tree falls. Not because of a final heroic strike, but because of all the strife. That's what success really looks like. Built in silence, revealed in time. So ask yourself, have you been swinging the axe daily or only when it's convenient? Do you move with discipline or only with motivation? Motivation is temporary. It's emotional. It fades. But commitment, that's character. That's power. That's how you break through. You don't need another burst of inspiration. What you need is relentless consistency. You need to push yourself when the fire is gone, when the sky is gray, when no one's watching, because that's where winners are forged. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. The man who starts strong is easy to find, but the man who finishes with his head down, his hands dirty, and his soul intact is rare. Be that man. Be the one who walks forward every day, no matter the weather, no matter the mood. Let others burn out with excitement. Let them quit when it's no longer fun. You keep going, and that's why you win. You must raise your standards. Your life will never rise higher than your standards. That's not just a motivational phrase. It's a law. Not your goals, not your dreams, not even your vision determines your future. Your standards do. Because a goal is optional. A dream is distant. But a standard is the line you refuse to cross, the bare minimum you will no longer accept. It's not about what you hope for. It's about what you demand from yourself every single day. You can talk about success all you want, but none of that means anything if your daily life is still ruled by low standards. If you continue to tolerate mediocrity, you will continue to live in it. If you keep entertaining weak habits, those habits will become your identity. Life will not rise to meet your hopes. It will reflect your minimums. And if your minimums are low, so will be your results. Raising your standards is not about performance. It's about identity. It's about deciding who you refuse to be anymore. It's about drawing a line in the sand and saying, that version of me is done. It's not glamorous. It's not dramatic. It's not even always visible. But it is transformational, because the moment you decide that certain behaviors, thoughts, excuses, and patterns are no longer acceptable, you shift the trajectory of your life, not through dreams, but through discipline. So what does it really mean to raise your standards? It means you stop making space for weakness. You stop negotiating with laziness. You stop letting your feelings dictate your follow-through. You choose excellence, even when it's inconvenient. Even when no one is watching. You start to treat the small things as sacred. You hold yourself to a higher level, not because someone's grading you, but because you refuse to betray the man you know you're capable of becoming. Think of a man who no longer needs to be told what to do. He irons his shirt not for compliments, but because he refuses to present himself like he doesn't care. He reads not to impress others, but because ignorance repels him. He trains his body not for show, but because weakness offends him. He doesn't just seek discipline, he expects it from himself. That man doesn't need motivation. He runs on standards. And because of that, life begins to respond differently to him. Opportunities recognize him, people respect him, doors open, not because he's lucky, but because he has become someone who deserves. Now ask yourself, what are you tolerating that's quietly killing your potential? What attitudes do you let slide because it's just who you are? What excuses have you rehearsed so many times that they sound like truth? This is the uncomfortable mirror you must look into, because you cannot change what you won't confront, and you cannot rise while still making peace with the very things holding you down. Raising your standards isn't just about pushing harder, it's about expecting more from yourself in every area. Your discipline, your honesty, your effort, your mindset. It's about eliminating the gap between who you are and who you pretend to be. It's about making excellence your default, not your distant ambition. When that shift happens, life begins to bend around your expectations. People treat you differently, you speak differently, you act with conviction, and the results begin to echo your new identity. You don't rise by accident, you rise by decision, by daily declarations of what is no longer acceptable. And no, it won't be easy, but that's the price of greatness. That's the cost of building a life worth living. Because once your standards rise, once you say never again to the laziness, the inconsistency, the self-betrayal, your life has no choice but to follow. Your habits rise, your mindset sharpens, your outcomes shift. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Raise your standards, not someday, but now. Because every day you delay is another day you train yourself to settle. And if you keep settling, you'll never know what you could have been. Be the man who decides. Be the man who refuses average. Be the man who raises the standard and never lowers it again. That is the man the world cannot ignore. Pressure reveals the truth about you, When life is calm, when the skies are clear and the path is straight, everyone seems composed. Everyone looks disciplined. Everyone talks like they're built for greatness. But those moments, those easy stretches of time, are not where real strength is revealed. They are illusions of control, not confirmations of it. Your true character, your real power, isn't measured when things are going your way. It's exposed when everything falls apart, when there is no cheer, no certainty, no comfort, when you're deep in the storm and there's nowhere to hide. That's when you meet the real you. Anyone can hold their head high when life's giving them applause. Anyone can talk about mindset when nothing's testing it. But who are you when the applause disappears? Who are you when the plan breaks, the path disappears, and doubt begins to whisper? When the results don't come? When the support dries up? When the fire is hot and relentless? That's when you find out if your discipline was real or just decoration. That's when you discover whether you've trained your mind or simply entertained the idea of strength. Pressure doesn't break you, it exposes you. It peels back the surface. It removes the mask. It shows whether your habits were built on convenience or commitment. It reveals whether your vision is just talk or something deeper, something wired into your bones. You don't rise to the level of your potential when things get hard. You fall to the level of your preparation. The ones who thrive under pressure, the ones who don't fold when life pushes back, aren't lucky. They're trained. They didn't wait for pressure to test them. They tested themselves first. So how do you become that kind of person? How do you build a mind that doesn't bend? You don't wait for crisis. You simulate it. You lean into discomfort before life throws it at you. You rehearse calm in chaos. You choose to do the hard things daily, not because you have to, but because you must. You show up even when no one's watching. You practice stillness when your emotions flare. You breathe deep when the pressure rises. Imagine a man in the middle of a storm. The sky is black, the winds roar, trees snap like twigs, the world around him trembles. But he doesn't. He doesn't scream, he doesn't panic, he doesn't run. He anchors down, he tightens his grip. His heart may race, but his actions remain steady. That is power. That is control. Not the absence of fear, but the ability to act in spite of it. What does pressure reveal about you? Do you break or bend? Do you rise or retreat? Do you panic or do you prepare? When life gets loud, do you get louder or do you get clearer? These are the questions that define you, not the ones you answer in peace, but the ones you answer in war. And make no mistake, life will test you. It will bring storms without warning. It will strip away your comfort and demand your and when that day comes, you won't have time to build yourself. You'll only have time to reveal what was already built. That's why you push yourself now, not someday, not when it's convenient, not when the schedule opens up or the motivation shows up. You do it now. You train in silence so you don't crumble in chaos. You push when it's quiet so you stand tall when the noise comes. While others are looking for the exit, you become the one who endures. While they collapse, you collect yourself. You become the one who doesn't need calm to remain calm, the one who doesn't need validation to feel certain, the one who doesn't need easy to keep going. And here's the truth. Once you master your mind under pressure, once you prove to yourself that you don't fold, nothing can be taken from you. Not fear, not failure, not delay. Because you're no longer controlled by what happens, you're controlled by what you've trained. You don't wait for permission. You don't wait for clarity. You act, you lead, you endure. So let the storms come. Let the winds rise. Let the world throw everything it has at you. You won't just survive. You'll sharpen because you've already done the work. You've already built the mind that can hold the weight. You've already become the man who doesn't flinch. Pressure is not the enemy. It is the mirror. It shows you what you really are. Train for it. So when it comes, you own it. You cannot build greatness with weak habits. The man who truly wants greatness must first go to war, not with the world, but with himself. The battle doesn't begin in the spotlight. It doesn't begin on the stage or in front of an audience. It begins in the silence, in the solitude, in the quiet corners of a man's life where no one is watching and no one will ever applaud. This is where weakness lives, and if you don't destroy it there, it will destroy you everywhere else. Weakness is subtle, it's deceptive, it hides not in the grand moments, but in the details, in the small, forgettable decisions you make day after day, the way you hit snooze instead of rising with purpose, the way you tell yourself just this once while letting your standards erode. You think those moments don't matter, but they do. Everything matters, because each tiny compromise becomes a thread in the fabric of your identity. And before long, the man in the mirror is not the one you dreamed of becoming, but the one you quietly settled for. You say you want success. You speak of discipline, of ambition, of rising to the top. But what are your habits saying? What is your life actually doing behind the words? Are you moving like a man with a mission? Or are you floating, waiting, hoping something will click? You can fool the world for a while,